Okay, guys, got a little distracted here. We had a visitor, so I had to stop. When I'm picking back up on the solving with graphing, you had to solve these three problems. For this one, this is a special case. You should have got x equal to -4 or x equal to +4. And then on this one, you should have gotten -5 and 3. And then on this one, you should have gotten -4 and 5. Now, let's talk about graphing. Okay? So when you look at a graph, again, I talked to you about this at the beginning of the lesson. You do teach me how to factor, and you get x and x. It's negative in the back, so it's plus and minus, 6 and 3, 6 and 3. When you set those equal to 0, you get -6 and +3. Now, when it goes through this graph over here, and when you look at it on the calculator, it should go through -6 and +3. And again, it's going to look roughly like that.
Like now.
So the reason the factor form is always opposite on the graph is because the graph shows the zeros. So when you set x plus 6 equal to 0, then you get, you take the 6 to the other side, you get a -6. So remember, the solution will be where the graph crosses the x-axis. This is why the factor form is opposite. So there's two ways to solve quadratics. You can factor it, or you can graph it. And when you find the x-intercepts, these will be the answers. So to solve a graph using the quadratic in the table, you can graph the quadratic equation, and then you use the trace button to find where the graph crosses the y-axis. Or you can go to the table. You find where y is equal to 0, and you write down the x values. You will usually have two answers, but there may be only one, and that's for a graph that looks like this. So it's where the graph touches the x-axis. Now, sometimes there'll be none, and you'll have to look at the picture. But if the graph does this, there's not going to be any answer, and that's called a prime trinomial. So solve this one by graphing. You can use any method, and then check your answer. Pause the video, and then check it. Okay. So if you looked at the video correctly, you should have had just a very slight mark at +3 and +4. And that's because when you factor this, you get x minus 3 and x minus 4. And if you notice, at 3, y is 0, and at 4 is y is 0 when you look at the table. And so the solutions to this are 3, 4. Some other things that you need to know, and I talked about this earlier in the notes. It wants you to set the polynomial equal to 0 if it says find the solution set. Or it'll say find the 0. And recall that when you find the 0, you set it equal to 0. And then you also could find the x-intercepts. And finding the x-intercepts is when the y is equal to 0, which is what we're going for. So, one more problem. Do that one. Put the graph, fill in the table, tell me what your answer is. Pause the video. When you're done, unpause, check the answers, then you'll be ready to go over the work for this problem. The work for this section. Okay, we should have ran into a problem, right? Again, this is one of those ones that's unfactorable. It's a prime polynomial. I'm not really sure because I don't have my graph calculator with me, but I guarantee you this graph did not touch the x-axis anywhere. And how I know that, even though I don't have my graph calculator with me, is look at 8. 8 times 1 is 8, but that equals 9. 4 times 2 is 8, but that equals 6. And that's really it. So there is no solution to this graph. And again, I don't know about the picture, but it probably looks, both answers are going to be negative, so it probably looks something like this. Okay. Alright, so you are done. You're ready to go. You can solve by factoring the ones that say to solve by factoring. And you can solve by graphing or solving any of the other ones on the page. So again, you have the directions say do with odds only on this page, and you're going to go ahead and do all 3 pages, just the odds. Any questions, come see me. Good luck. When you're done, you'll be checked and moved to the next section.